he was so shocked because we spent a lot of hours on Sunday at the table with a lot of people, and we were just eating and talking about our childhood, having fun, joking. And that's something that I never had abroad.
Allora, we're going to talk about, in your opinion, Giada, what is the biggest, since you have spent a good amount of time, if I'm not wrong, you were an au pair in the United States?
Yeah,
Okay,
been
so
there.
you spent a lot of time in the United States. You've met a lot of people from different cultures around the world. And so, like, what is your opinion on the, as an Italian, how you think about Italy, how you view Italy, what it's kind of your experience of your perspective of an Italian that's in Italy and how you approach your country versus an Italian that is outside of Italy?
So basically, when Italians are in Italy, usually don't appreciate what they have. They're constantly thinking about moving abroad, traveling abroad. They think that other countries are better, other people are better. But yeah, when they actually go abroad, they become super patriotic. So they start thinking about what they're missing, what. So basically, people, when they are here with other Italians, say a lot of negative things about Italy. They're always constantly complaining. But when they go abroad and they find another Italian, they're like, oh my God, I'm so happy to see you. Because they feel home. And they start appreciating the food that they don't have there, and also the social life that they don't have there. Because abroad, for Italians, it's really hard to make friends, because when you make Italian friends, it's different from making foreign friends.
Exactly.
It's the same.
I think after meeting some, I've met a variety of different Italians living abroad here in Seattle and other parts of the United States. And one thing too, especially I think with like, for some reason, like girls tell me like, oh, it's a bit harder to make friends with like American girls. And so a lot of times, as much as they want to learn about a new culture, I see that just like, I mean, I studied with Americans in Rome during an experience. So usually people kind of congregate towards people of like their own culture to kind of start feeling like they're home again.
Yeah, and you want to know what's the weirdest thing? Is that if you are from Italy and you meet somebody that is not from your city, there is a lot of hate, especially if you meet somebody, maybe you're from the south and you meet somebody from the north, there's a lot of hate. You don't even want to be friends with them. But then when you meet somebody from the north abroad, oh, they become your best friend, because they're from Italy, you are
Exactly.
abroad, so you need local, you need to feel better abroad. That's the
Sure.
weirdest thing. I think that Italians should appreciate more what they have when they are in the country. They should be polite with people from every city. And yeah, when they go abroad, they should try to look less patriotic, because it's important that you are when you are in your country. We don't
Exactly.
even show off flags outside our balconies, or when we are abroad, we need an Italian flag to show off that we are Italians.
For sure. I think the only time it really became patriotic last year is maybe the pandemic. People started getting proud to be Italian.
Yeah, but I think that I should admit that I made the same mistake, because when I was living in Italy, I wasn't appreciating what I had. But when I went to the United States, I realized that I was missing a lot of things, like fresh vegetables, my nonni, uh, and yeah, and I was constantly thinking about pasta. Oh my God, that's an addiction, I think.
For sure. So, okay, like when you Italians, so you say in Italy it's more regional, like you guys identify more regionally, and there's more of like a difference between you and the other person versus like abroad, it's like, oh, we're all Italian, so you're much more patriotic or much more open to meeting new people just because they're Italian per se. But in Italy, there's still this cultural divide between North and South, or a bit more of like hesitation with other people and in general. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, it's true. So when we are abroad, we identify as Italians, simply Italians. But
Hmm.
when we are here and we are to talk with the locals, we don't identify as one country. We identify with the name of our region.
Hmm.
Yeah, and there is a lot of hate also among regions that are close to each other. Even if, just from the south or from the north, there is a lot of hate among that too.
Okay.
In my region, there are two cities, Bari and Taranto, and these two cities hate each other so much. They have different accents, different, ways to live, and people hate each other so much. Yeah.
Okay. Different culinary recipes, but very similar, but with a different name. Different soccer, like, I mean, I know that it's maybe not in Serie A, but like some it's only a year, but like some different soccer teams, different like football. Yeah, it's a whole different thing. Mm-hmm.
That's also something that gives more hate.
Exactly. Okay, and so the things you miss most when you're abroad is the food for sure. You miss your grandparents, your family, the family-oriented culture. Can you explain some of like the differences between like these things you miss, like what are the differences between them and the United States in your experience, or the United States or any other country?
Okay, so I'll tell you something. When I'm abroad, I usually try to make friends because I'm very open-minded and I love meeting new people. And I also try to organize some barbecues or lunches,
Okay.
But it's not the same feeling that I get when I'm in southern Italy, because here, when you eat with my nonni, you spend like hours and hours at the table from 12 to 7 p.m. I remember that once I invited my American friend, and he was so shocked because we spent a lot of hours on Sunday at the table with a lot of people, and we were just eating and talking about our childhood, having fun, joking. And that's something that I never had abroad, even though
Okay.
yeah, I act with a lot of people. It's not the same feeling. People, they are in a hurry. They just eat and get up, and you don't get the feeling of you just sit at the table on a Sunday day and you relax and have fun. No, I don't feel that abroad. I miss it when I'm abroad.
Okay. So it's not just the food; it's the hospitable nature of like the family element, friends coming together, enjoying a meal, and just enjoying the meal to be around people instead of just eating to eat per se. So maybe that hospitable nature of the culture, especially in the south of Italy, I'm sure it's more prominent. And okay, and so in the United States, it's just harder for people. It's not just even a family element, maybe like friendships. It's just not as valued, maybe, versus especially in the south of Italy and southern cultures like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to tell you something that I do with my family. Usually, when there are a lot of people on Sunday at home, we just eat our meal, and then we drink amaro to digest all the food that we ate. And after that, we take all the pictures that are usually black and white, and we talk about that. And my nonni show everybody, oh, this was my uncle, this was me when I was a child.
Italians are good storytellers, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, and so, okay, that makes sense. What else do you feel like is different than when you're abroad versus in Italy?
So I think that abroad, people are always in a hurry. People never relax. People are always thinking about working.
And you're comparing like from the United States and Italy, or would you say in other countries? What countries are like more similar, you'd say? Like to Italy versus like the United States is, yeah.
So not only in the United States, also in Germany and in Northern Europe, life goes fast. People have a business mindset. And in Italy, people work because they have to, because we have to survive, but we also think about enjoying our day so much. We think about making a meal or spending time with people or just go for a little soccer game in our town. We just go for an aperitivo. We just eat breakfast at the cafe in the morning. So we try to go slow, try to relax. We also take naps in the afternoon. People in the United States or in Northern Europe really don't do that, and I notice that when I go abroad. People never stop. I don't know how their mind can work that much.
Exactly. I feel like the breakfast thing's for sure true. Let's say the sorry, we
For example, look at the difference between Italian cafes and the Starbucks in the United States. There's a
Exactly.
huge difference. People just take coffees to go, right? Here,
Hmm.
don't take a coffee to go. People don't do that. People don't have cup holders in the car. It's not something
No,
you
it's
do.
always, I guess, yeah, the ability to enjoy breakfast and a meal, the feeling to like rush, and that element for sure.
Yeah, so we just sit there, talk with somebody, or with people, from the town that you only meet at the cafe. Yeah, you enjoy, then you go to work, even if you're late. It doesn't matter.
No, you say it's different though from, I mean, you're in Puglia, yeah?
Yeah,
You're in
I'm in
Puglia.
Puglia.
So you're in the south of Italy. Would you say there's a stark difference between like when you're in the south of Italy versus the north of Italy and this nature? So if like you're in Milan or other cities like Bergamo, Brescia, in Lombardia, close to Milan, or if you're like in other northern Italian regions, Veneto, Piemonte, if you're like in Torino, for example, it's a bit different than cities in the south.
There are a lot of differences
Hmm.
between northern and southern Italy. Um, Something that I'd like to share is a time when people have their meals. Okay,
Okay.
so in the north, people usually have meals around maybe lunch around the 12 and dinner around the 7 p.m. Southern Italy, lunch is around the 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. and the dinner around 8, 9, 10 p.m. And that's, I think that's a lifestyle. That's something that happens. Also, the work schedule are different.
Okay.
In the south, you work from 9 a.m. out, then you take a break until 4:30 p.m. So you are able to come back home, eat lunch with your family, take a big nap, like a long
Okay.
nap.
Talk to your nonni.
You go back to work and finish around 9 p.m. Northern Italy, it's different. You start at 8 and you finish around 4, 5 p.m. Of course, you only have 30 minutes of break if you want to eat lunch with your colleagues, but you don't go back home.
Okay.
Yeah, that's something that even though I'm from the south, I love about the north. I think that
You like it
it's
better that
better.
way
Yeah,
because in the
especially
south
because I
it's too slow. There's not enough time to. Okay.
there are other differences, like for example the weddings in the south are bigger, more expensive. You invite a lot of people, even
More
all
tradition.
the even people that you never met, that you don't have a good relationship with. Oh, you have to invite everybody
Everybody
from
has
the
to see
south,
it.
like cousins that you never met.
Wow. Okay, so it's a bigger event, or people make a bigger deal out of like events and wanting to share special moments. In general, maybe more people in the South are maybe a little more sentimental or more passionate in that way. They want to do host big events and um, have bigger, like it's just a more dynamic like element of the culture maybe in that area. Okay.
And even so, people say, okay, people from the south have less money than people from the north. Yeah, but when it comes to weddings, they find the money to do
They
that.
find the money for sure. No, yeah, I mean, I guess that is a big difference is the industry in the North versus the South. I know the South um, is more agriculture. It relies more on agriculture, on products, smaller businesses, that agricultural products production historically, but even now. Whereas the North has a little bit more industry, more large businesses, more kind of like white collar job opportunities where people can have more like desk jobs and stuff like that. So there's more opportunity in that sense, maybe.
Yeah, so you, as a traveler, you notice differences between northern Italy when it comes to talk about infrastructure. So tell me more about it.
I think the infrastructure is much different in the north and south of Italy from not like, I mean, flights. Yeah, I mean, there's more flights into northern Italian cities, but especially like the train system. So like when you do like when you're on the Italo or Frecciarossa in Italy and you want to take like a fast train, there's not many fast trains. Maybe there's one to like Naples, but other than that, there's not many available in the south. Usually you're in like the regional trains. Also like the public transport, whether it be like the metro, much slower. It may not have like a clock even to show you when like not a digital clock when it'll actually update when the train will show up. They're not always timely. Even like in a city like Rome, it's not nearly as timely or works very well compared to like in Milan or parts of the north. And so, yeah, I mean, from my perspective as an American, taking public transport in the South is not a fun endeavor. It's not that enjoyable. I think culturally, maybe in the South, people have more fun. It's more vibrant, colorful. The food is more Mediterranean. It's more like a Mediterranean or South, almost like a South American culture in some ways, especially in cities like Naples or Palermo. Then in the North is much more stereotypically European, maybe more organized, a little more rigid, a little more. And so I think as far as, yeah, like traveling and getting around, the north of Italy is much easier. There's a higher concentration of big cities. So yeah, the south of Italy isn't always ideal, let's say in that sense.
Maybe there is a positive side of that. Yeah, maybe we don't have a good infrastructure to go around, but we are still old and traditional. So when it comes to see authentic things, you can come here and really see the old authentic things that haven't changed in so many years.
For sure.
So
No,
yeah. So yeah, another difference that I want to talk about is social life between
okay.
people from the north and people from the south. So I'm from the south, but I also have lived in the north before. And I noticed that for me it was very difficult to make friends because I couldn't go to my neighbors to, drink a coffee together. It's not really in their culture. But in the south, as soon as you move to a new house, your neighbors usually comes to you and asks you to take a coffee with them. And I think that's a way to make you feel better when you move to a new area,
Okay.
But in the north, this doesn't really happen. It depends on who you meet, of course, but yeah,
Okay. And
something. But they are all there.
okay. No, that makes sense, especially what we people other cultures too. I think the northern part, like I live in Seattle, the northwest part of the United States, people are a bit more cold and to themselves. Whereas like you go to the southern parts of the United States, people are a bit more open, especially in the southeast, a bit more hospitable and stuff like that. So I think it translates also to then parts of like Europe, Italy. Let's say you, because you live in Puglia, but so were you living close to I think Lago di Garda, Lake Garda? Um,
Lake Como.
Lake Como, okay, Lake Como. And so you see the big difference there from Puglia versus Lake Como or Lombardia for sure.
Yeah, it was totally different, even because the life that you do at the lake, between the mountains, it's different from the life that you do close to the sea. The diet is different, people are different, the temperatures are different, also the activities that you do. In the south, grocery stores are open until 10, 11 p.m. In northern Italy, usually they're open until 8, 9 p.m.
Okay.
That's also because of temperature, people lifestyle, jobs close earlier,
For sure. And so, okay. And so there's these shocks, but then comparing it to other countries, what's like the biggest shock then going to another country? Like there's these differences that seem very significant when you're in Italy, but then now we're talking about an Italian abroad. What is the like when when he first came to the United States to live and work, what was the biggest shock when he first got here? You probably went to
I had a lot of shocks.
Let's
So
hear.
the first one was I was in Chicago, okay, and I was living, with a family, and I saw that this family was showering and going out from the house without drying their hair.
No, wet hair
That,
is a sin, right? In Italy, a girl can't have wet
that
hair.
oh my God, that was the biggest shock. And I was like, how can you do that? You're gonna get a cold, a flu, you're gonna get sick. How can you do that? I didn't still do that. Really, it's awful.
Okay.
Plus, they go to the mall where the air conditioning is so cold. Like there is a huge difference between outside and inside,
Let's talk
and
about air
they're really
conditioning. You didn't like the air conditioning during this, even in the summer, because Italians. I go to like an Italian's house during the summer. Let's say like family friends in Rome. We go to the house, and it could be like I don't know. I mean, in Fahrenheit, maybe 88 degrees outside. So I don't know, maybe 37 degrees, 35 degrees. I'm not good with the numbers, but You go into their house and oh, it's not hot enough yet to use air conditioning. Like me as an American, I die. I need air conditioning, but like Italians, like you guys don't. It's not. It's a cultural thing. It's not. I think especially in the South, Italians. It's like we use it when we need it.
What? It's not that we hate it, that we don't like when there is a huge difference between outside and inside. If you go to Chicago in August, outside it's so hot. When you go to the mall, you need the thousands of sweaters and plus a coat because you're dying.
I think Americans love cold. I think we just like the cold things.
Don't you get sick? Don't
Huh?
you get sick? Don't you get sick?
I don't think so. I don't know. I don't think I've gotten sick from it. Maybe I do, but I don't know. I think Italian like the Italian the nonna has a big influence on mentality of the Italians. I mean, I think it's important. You see like it with also like Italians wearing scarves until like May, June. Nobody here wears scarves.
But I have a question for you. So if it's a summer and outside it's hot, why do you sleep at night with a blanket? Summer, you don't need a blanket. Turn the air conditioning on and use a blanket.
I don't know. I mean, for me, it's more comfortable. I mean, I have some ways of being and living now that I've incorporated as more Italian in my life, but in this way, I'm American. I like my air conditioning, so I think I hate to sweat and be warm when I'm sleeping. It's not too enjoyable.
Okay, what happens in winter? In winter, then you turn the heater on,
Yeah.
and then you with a short sleeves t-shirt. What?
No, the heater just
Really?
you feel normal.
Oh my god, I can't accept that. I can't really.
No. Also like the conversation of like when you're in a restaurant, we talk about like the ice. For instance, this is one thing about Italy I love, and like Italian culture, like I don't know if it's like a big part of the culture, but like one thing, obviously, when you go to a restaurant in Italy, like even a trattoria, a casual restaurant, you will be served water in a glass, like a nice glass of water, like in like I don't know what it could be like. It could be like San Pellegrino. It could be like Aquapan, like these different glass bottle. Whereas here in the United States, you just get like from the rubinetto. It's like from the tap usually. And so this expectation of the water being like in a bottle, and then not just that, but then also like ice. Like in America, people love ice. Putting ice in the cup, even sparkling water, putting like ice in the water always. Whereas in Italy, it's never like that, which I like more this whole idea of like drinking the water more at room temperature, especially sparkling water, because you put ice in sparkling water, it completely ruins it. So is that something?
This is connected to the air conditioning topic because if I drink water with with ice, it's cold.
Exactly. Yeah.
Why should I do that? So I prefer temperature water,
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, or cold from the, but not more cold like with ice. I think it makes the water change.
Yeah. So for example, Americans love iced coffee. If you say that to an Italian nonna, it's gonna get mad because also in August when it's so hot in southern Italy, if you ask for a coffee, you're gonna make the coffee from the mocha, which is so hot, and you are gonna drink it like that. You are not gonna wait it to become colder, and you don't put ice on that because you need to taste the coffee for how it is. So the coffee,
Exactly.
people
The
say
mocha or the bar, you get with the espresso like that. But I will say you're from Puglia. And what part of Puglia are you from again?
I'm from Taranto.
Taranto. Okay, so you're from, but so technically in the Salento, no? Is Taranto in the Salento?
Actually, no.
It's in the Gulf right there.
Yeah,
but
yes.
okay, so not technically in the Salento, but in the Salento, for anybody who's concerned, it's the southern part of Puglia. So like Otranto, Lecce, it's like the part that's closest to Albania, the coastal line on the bottom. But the northern part of Puglia is not called Salento; it's a different part. So, but I'm saying in Lecce, they have an iced coffee though. So like that, it depends, yeah. With the almond and the cafe de cese is iced coffee.
Yeah, you see there are exceptions, of course.
Explain the rule of the Italians: no iced coffee unless it's cafe de cese and you put almond syrup in it.
We have our rules. We don't want foreigners to break our rules. if you are eating, if you're coffee, if it's left there in the kitchen, you can't drink it anymore. But of course, there are exceptions, like the coffee from Lecce. The different flavor. It's made in a different way, So
Explain how it's made so people know. There's ice in it. Surprisingly, Italians use ice only for for the spritz and for cafe de cheese.
guys, coffee from Lecce is made with ice. So when you come to Italy and you want iced coffee, just don't ask for a normal espresso because they're not giving it to you with ice. So, yeah, I think that this coffee made, because southern Italy is very hot, and it reaches very high temperatures. So people maybe they need something fresh and they can't give up on coffee. That's why
exactly. And so what's in it though? Explain as a person as a Pugliese, like explain like what is in the cafe.
Grayson, I'm not an expert on cafe.
No, I think I'm okay. You know about it, but I've had it. I'm pretty sure it's ice, espresso, like cafe espresso, so like strong like coffee, and then there's like almond sugar, like a syrup, to give it like almond desserts and pastries and stuff are big in the south of Italy, so it makes sense.
Yeah, because in Italy, people usually in summer drink almond drink or mint drink to feel better. So they also maybe they matched this almond drink with the coffee and made it.
Yeah. Okay. And when you're not in Puglia, do you miss? There's a typical pastry I want Giada to talk about called pasticciotto. That's very, very yummy. That I think many Americans will appreciate.
Miss it when they go abroad. I don't miss it because I'm a fan of savory food and I'm a fan of.
You don't. So you'd rather have? There's another thing called rustico, which is like a fried tomato mozzarella type thing.
Oh, I love that.
It's like rustico.
Rustico leccese.
Rustico leccese. So you'd rather have that than a pasticciotto.
Of course. Yeah. Savory
sweet and
team forever.
Okay. Sei più americana. You're more American in that sense.
Breakfast, I'm American. Then when it comes to lunch, I become Italian again.
Okay. Okay. We do it like that. You eat other things.
And wait. I have to say more. For breakfast, I'm American. But when it comes to lunch, I'm Italian again. Italian from the south, orecchiette, pasta, vegetables. Then when it comes to dinner, I'm an Italian from the north because I love eating dinner around 7 p.m., not more than that. Okay. And I always complain because every time that I want to go to a restaurant in southern Italy and I call to book a table, they say, oh, no, sorry, you can't book a table before 8:30 p.m. And I'm like, what? I'm hungry.
Okay. So when you came back home to Italy from America, did you even eat earlier? Was it like a reverse culture shock for you?
Yeah, I think so. I'm a mix of all the cultures. I take advantages of all the cultures that I learn about, That's how I am.
For sure. I feel the same way. I feel like there's a lot of different things. If you agree, like I think it's best to take if you've traveled a lot and even lived a period of time in a different country, I think be who you are, understand who you are. I think it's important to know where you come from, what your nationality is, but at the same time take the best things from each culture, what you learned, and then implement them in your life to kind of live your best life, let's say.
I think that's the goal of a traveler, There should be a goal of a traveler. When we travel, we should see the new things. We shouldn't complain about, oh, this is a different country. No, we shouldn't complain. We should get the best from that country and make it ours and implement that on our routine because it will make our life better because it's gonna make us grow. It makes us better people. Maybe we like something from other countries that make feel us better, Yeah.
No, 100%. I couldn't agree more. What do you think is the hardest as an Italian abroad, what was the hardest thing to get used to? Like your daily routine, was it, I mean, the food is one of the big, obviously Italy is famous for its fantastic food, regional food from north to south, gastronomic culture, the emphasis on quality, like was the food aspect the hardest part, or was there some other aspects that were difficult to get used to? And then did you turn to Italy? Did you have any culture shock, reverse culture shock, where like you almost liked the American way of doing it better, and now it's how you live?
So the hardest thing in the US was buying groceries.
Okay.
Uh,
I think this
when
is
you
hard
go,
in Italy.
so I remember, when you go to the grocery store, maybe you see a box of strawberries and it's, maybe $10, right? When you think, oh, but it's only $10, right? You make a lot of more monthly, but $10 for a box of strawberries, it's too much.
Okay.
Then you buy something more. Maybe then you want to buy other fruit, some other vegetables. You want to buy some cheese, and then your shopping is gonna get so expensive. That's the hardest thing, I think, because when you are abroad, you think, oh, this fruit, maybe to give this fruit is so much cheaper in my country. Or you think, oh, my neighbors that have a garden, maybe he could give it to me for free, So when you're
Exactly.
abroad, you kind of feel you miss the cheaper food. Yeah, you miss it. You think, why should I spend so much money for food? Why should I spend so much for fruit and vegetables? So that's one hard thing. So yeah, something that in the US is better than Italy.
Maybe not better, but something that maybe you like more difference. I think one. Yeah.
Roads.
Okay.
Driving in the US is so much better. You feel comfortable. You have a lot of enough space. Roads are good. Drivers are not crazy.
Italian drivers, tell me about them.
In Italy, before driving, I feel anxiety. I feel bad. I feel like, oh my God, I hope I will get to the place I want to go safely. I start praying before driving.
Do the whole.
Why? Okay, we say Italian people have the dolce vita. They are not in a hurry, but when they drive, they're in a hurry. Like what?
At the post office, and when they drive, they don't like to wait in the line. They don't like to wait in the lane. They just go for it.
Yeah, and they just park the car in the street because we need to be close to the end of the place we want to go to. But Italian drivers are crazy. They never respect others. They never respect the traffic light. They are, and should we talk about the motorbikes? They don't use helmets. No helmets.
I think in
So
the south more.
unsafe.
Maybe in the north they use helmets more. No, I'm wrong.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right.
If you're in Centro Storico di Napoli, it's like if you're in Naples with the kids on the scooters, I think maybe it's more of a recommendation than a rule for the kids to use the helmets. It's a bit more out of control.
You know that in my region, there is like an average of 2 car crash every day.
Wow.
Every day. Every day I turn the TV on and they say, oh, car crash in your city.
Okay. So then if you're in Taranto or like even Bari, would you say Puglia is easier than maybe let's say in like Sicily, like in Palermo or Catania or like in Naples versus like parts of Puglia? I think because in my experience, like when I was in Puglia, I can understand how people may drive more aggressive in the south, but I feel like it's a little more easy to drive in Puglia than other regions of the south, depending on if you're close to the city.
You know what? It depends on the type of town that you are in. If it has like small streets, if you are in a modern area, in an old area, if you are close to a hill or close to the sea, when it comes to summer, close to the sea, it's a mess. You can't drive. So yeah, but I think that I told you there are some places where it's harder, but in general, southern Italy is very similar. And in northern Italy, this is so much better. I have to admit it. Yeah, it's true. Okay. Why not?
So, okay, you maybe have some other things, how people eat, what they eat, and stuff like that. Maybe you prefer in the south, but maybe the organization of how the infrastructure set up is a little bit better in the north.
Yeah, infrastructure is better, and drivers are better. Meals schedule is better. Jobs schedule is better. But when it comes to going out, social life, some expenses, the southern is better. The southern Italy is better.
The sea.
The
The
sea is
the
better. Yeah, I mean, we
maybe if
want to.
you're a water person, yeah. I mean, the landscapes, the sea during the summer, the way of life is maybe a bit more enjoyable in the south, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can't complain the sea from the north with the sea to the sea with the sea in the south. It's better.
Yeah,
It's better.
for sure. I mean, you even have like there's a place called I know I've heard of Punta Prosciutto, which is like it's like Maldive. It's like also like Sardinia,
Yeah,
very like crazy water. People don't understand. If people think of Italy, they think of like food, art, culture,
yeah,
fashion. But I don't think that they sometimes understand tourists maybe about if you go to some of these parts in the islands or in the south of Italy, how absolutely stunning the beaches,
yeah.
white sand, and the water are.
Yeah, I think it's underrated because we have a beach in southern Puglia that it's called the Maldives of Salento,
Hmm.
and it's like if it's called the Maldives, maybe there is a reason.
Hmm.
But when people come to Italy, they only go to the biggest cities, Milan, Florence, and Rome, but they forget. Maybe not they forget. They don't know that we have one of the
Exactly.
best seas of the world. They don't know
I
that.
Yeah, I think Puglia is becoming more like tourist, like more touristy. But I think yeah, there's still not a knowledge of like I mean, people know Alberobello, things like this, Materas and Basilicata, but it's close. But they don't know like all beautiful little towns. It looks like Greece almost. You have a lot of culture, the whitewashed cities, with probably in my opinion, probably you can enjoy the water, but then also even the street food and even just the food in general and just from the actual ingredients, because Puglia is probably the most agriculturally rich region with the most olive trees, etc. It probably has the freshest produce in Italy. So I think when you talk about vegetables, I can see how it's impactful for you because you come from the region with probably the best produce. So
Yes, exactly. And yeah, people, maybe travelers don't know that they can come here, go to the beach, and have an aperitivo in front of the beach with a bruschetta, with fresh
exactly.
tomatoes. They don't know that. They think that they should get bruschetta or pizza in the north, but it's not true. That's not the right place to eat bruschetta or pizza.
Yeah, I mean, 100% I agree. And I think even people get this idea that it's like pizza, pasta, gelato, blah, 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 like these typical things. But I think even the things in Puglia, I'm a different person, but like in the summer, you have like a fresh fig tree. You eat like a fresh fig off the tree. Like even like the almonds that are produced in like a region like in Sicily or in Puglia, and you have them with aperitivo, and you taste like these raw whole almonds, and you're like, this is just fantastic. Like the flavors, the taste of the tomatoes different. It's really just like the way how organic it is and natural, but then also just the care and love in these little products, also like terali, these little type of like regional specialties, I think is special. And I think you have to like go to a region like Puglia to understand like this kilometro zero, like this 0 kilometer kind of like farm to table food idea. Like I like
That there is a person like you that is aware of this.
yeah, no, I think it's special. I think also people think of like Costiera Amalfitana and now Taormina after the White Lotus second season has been gotten huge and it's very expensive. But I tell people like, you could stay in like a trullo, which is like a special typical hut, or you could stay in a mazzeria, which is like kind of like a agriturismo in Umbria or Tuscany, but in Puglia. And you can have a magical type experience, even close, not always, usually in a country, but not far from the sea, for a price that 4 or 5 times less in a region like Puglia that is probably a bit more in culture still because it hasn't been overly touristy. I think the next topic we should discuss is what Italians typically think about America, whether that be stereotypes about Americans, about America in general. Also, I mean, obviously, Italy is a country that's rich of stereotypes for better or for worse. I think Italy might be the most stereotyped country in the world. But right now, let's hear first about what Italians may think of America.
So Italians think that Americans are rich, so rich. Italians are jealous about that.
I think I have an idea of I think this is not just Italians. I think this is all cultures because let's say the cousins of the Italians may be the Argentinians because there's a lot of people of Italian descent and it's a similar culture like Argentina to southern Italy. So I think though an Argentinian might say or someone from another culture, wow, in Italy it'd be beautiful to live. They have more money, they live better life. But then an Italian says, oh, in America they have a better life, more money. But it's always like depends on where you're from, like context. Like it's always better the grass is always greener on the other side.
In part, it can be true, but Italians don't think that expenses in the US are higher. So of course their salary is higher. It's a different life cost in
For
cost.
sure.
So I think that if you earn more, you also spend more, you know?
Yeah, and I think there's pros and cons, and it's a different society and structure that's set up. I mean, when you're in Italy, there's like, for instance, Americans have this mindset of, oh, well, in Europe, there's free healthcare. College is almost free. It's subsidized by the government. Food prices are less. However, that's true. I will say from the Italian context, you guys have lower salaries. In most of the countries, lower cost of living. Now in Rome and Milan, rent prices and housing prices are very high. So similar to high prices here. Now food prices in Rome, let's say for a big city, are very low. But again, I'd say with healthcare is kind of a tough thing to say because yes, we don't have as much of subsidized government healthcare. But again, in Europe or in Italy, you may have free healthcare, but I think it's amazing in an emergency situation. So if like you were going to go to the hospital or the emergency room, you would be better taken care of in Europe or in Italy. But in general, when you have basic healthcare, I'm imagining in Italy, it'll be hard to find an appointment. You have to rely on the government. Like people that have money or are more affluent in Italy will have private healthcare, and so they'll be paying a lot of money anyway. So I think it's true, but sometimes I think people don't think about the little intricacies or details about the truth of what this means free, because free isn't always the best.
Yeah, yeah, it depends. And also, for example, in the US, bills like water, electricity, air conditioning or heating, you have it turned on 24/7, and this doesn't affect your expenses so much. In Italy, if you turn the air conditioning on just 1 hour per day, it's gonna make you get a high bill at the end of the month. And
sure.
I think for our salary, that's too much. So
I think, yeah, you guys definitely are more, I think Europeans are more environmentally conscious and also just use less energy. There's more of a culture around that. Where in America, we love to really have all our services and conveniences all the time.
But do you want to know why we think Americans are rich? Because we see that Americans spend a lot of money in things that we don't even think about. Because we think that they are a little bit spoiled, especially children that get whatever they want. So
Okay.
that's why we think they are rich, because we are like, oh, that's American. He's for anything that he wants to get for, or
yeah. I think it's also the perception, because I think in most cultures, I think we have Hollywood, a lot of pop culture, cinema. We have like a lot of cultural, like the music. So I think a lot of people have this vision of like Hollywood, like Los Angeles, Miami, New York, rich people in those areas. But I think that sometimes people don't take into account like that's not the typical, like most of the people living in like the middle of the United States, other parts of the United States that maybe more humble, or not humble, but maybe more not so concerned with like being as flashy or having as much of an affluent lifestyle. Whereas like, I mean, even let's say it's the same type of thing. I think, yes, per capita, there is higher amounts of money and more opportunities to be able to monetize whatever you're doing in job opportunities. But at the same time, I think similar to Americans have this mindset of like, when they see like maybe a type of person from Italy that is affluent, from old money, that is very classy, that speaks a certain way, a guy on the street that's dressed super nice, that rides Vespa with his suit on to work. Like there could be this idea that Italians also have this dream life. It's like la dolce vita all the time, but that's not realistic for the typical Italian. So I think everybody has these preconceived notions of what life is, but it's never so simple.
That's true. Yeah. It all depends. There are cases and cases everywhere. But yeah, that's what we think. And we also think that Americans are crazy because, for example, some lawyers have five cars in their garage. And that's so weird because we are like, we can't even want that Americans can buy 5.
Exactly. I think, yeah, and I think it's just also like cultures, like what they value. I don't think this is everybody in Italy, but I think, let's say Italians Italians more than Americans, especially like, let's say Seattle is a pretty affluent area, especially certain areas like there's suburbs like Bellevue, Kirkland, Mercer Island, Medina outside of some of the areas in the United States. But you don't see people dressing very nice, putting themselves together. They may have a Ferrari, Lamborghini, a G-Class, a G-Wagon, Mercedes, but they may be coming out like dressed like, I don't want to hate, but like maybe Bill Gates, like not like very affectionate, like not very charming type of like, you know, fashionista guy or girl that's that put together. Where I think in Italy people are more a little into like how they dress, how they present themselves. And so I think in certain ways, maybe things Americans and Europeans value is a little different in the sense that a European's not going to get tons of cars or spend as much on a house, but it's like a man going to like, it's required that you have like a nice suit if you're working a desk job in Italy or in the business world, where here they may not even wear a tie ever. It's just different.
Yeah, that's true.
Hobby here if you dress nice, kind of. Here people think you have like, oh, you're
are going to that to a ceremony maybe.
Exactly. Whereas in Italy, like, okay, if you it depends on the if you go out for aperitivo, yeah, maybe wear a leather jacket with nice pants, it's normal. But like here, maybe people be like, oh wow, you're dressing up a lot. So I think that's also like the things people value is so I think where people spend their money is different too, maybe.
Yeah, because you know what? You see these rich people in the US that want to go somewhere with their beautiful car, but then they get out from the house with the wet hair, and I'm like, this guy can take care of himself, right?
Exactly. I think too, like the yoga, like especially for girls, I'm not an expert with girls' fashion, but activewear is way different. People also, this is one funny thing we could talk about a stereotype, but Americans go into like Americans will like we'll grocery shop, we'll go to the all in our gym clothes or activewear, we'll like go to the grocery shop, go to the gym, run our errands, do our activities for the day, all in our workout clothes. Where Italians will go to the gym typically, shower, get ready, take off all the clothes, change into a different outfit. It's like you have to this bella figura where you have to show like you have every different context, like the day needs to be in the right way of looking.
Yeah, because can we talk about the Americans that wear flip-flops everywhere? I mean, how can you do that? You are not classy at all doing that.
I think being classy is different. So yeah.
You are there. You see this guy with like a beautiful Porsche getting out from it with flip-flops. Oh my God, what is that?
Exactly. I think I definitely think definitely for young people, job opportunities are a bit more scarce, especially in the south of Italy versus the north of Italy. But then also compared to the United States, the brain drain, you see a lot of people leaving Italy because Italy is a very educated country. But yeah, I think there's opportunities in both countries. It's just different. And so, yeah, I mean.
You want to know what's another thing that Italians about Americans? When we see an American that is playing golf, we are like, oh my God, he doesn't have anything to do. He has a lot of money to spend for nothing.
It depends. I think some Americans love golf. We I think sports. Italians at the gym or they play calcio, like soccer. They don't play any sports. No, they're done. Like Americans, we love sports.
Money for that. They spend money for that other than calcio and
I think
gym.
Exactly. I think Americans versus Europeans are much more obsessed with sports in general. Like, because in Italy, maybe yes, basket, like other sports are big, but not like soccer. Where in the United States, we have like 5, 6, 7 sports that are as big as football or calcio in Italy or in Europe. So
if you ask my nonna, what's golf? She's gonna say, oh, Giada, it's a sport for rich people. Don't you think about it?
It's kind of true. Not more true in the past, but I think you need like tennis, golf, baseball. It takes a lot more money than maybe soccer, basketball, stuff like that to play. You see, like in in the inner cities in the United States, there's not many kids, unfortunately, that have the opportunity, like in South Central LA, Chicago, parts of South Florida, wherever it may be, also like parts of even south of Seattle, there's not like as much of an opportunity for kids to go to a country club and have lessons. And so certain sports I think are definitely more for affluent, like
So
demographic.
we also think about we also think that Americans um, want to look so smart when it comes to business, but then they don't know anything about geography. They don't know anything about other languages. They don't know anything about other subjects. Because they all only have this business mindset. But then, if you ask them what's the capital city of Italy, they're gonna say Paris. And yeah, so also when they travel they pretend like they want others to speak English, but then they don't know any second language except for Spanish, because but yeah, we think about that a lot. We think that it's
For sure.
unfair that they feel so smart, but then they don't know anything else other than business.
I think, yeah, I think also the fact that I think America, this whole idea of living to work versus working to live, I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying that in general, Americans probably value socioeconomic status, whether that be money, finances, and their status as far as how much their their status in the sense of what they're worth or what they make or their knowledge on how to make money is probably the biggest status symbol. Whereas I think in Europe, culture, history, language, being a cultured, well-rounded person is probably more valued, and your identity is a bit. In America, our identity is very tied to what we do as a vocation, like our work. Where I think in Europe and in Italy, for better or for worse, I think also we live in a capitalistic society where I think it's good in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways, there's some negatives too. But I think that we put people on a pedestal, or we really value people or things that make a lot of money are very abundant and financially. But in Europe, I think people are more valued for like who they are socially, what their knowledge on different subjects, how cultured they are. I think in Europe, especially in France and Italy, let's say, there's always a right way and a wrong way to do something. And there's a much more preservation for history, living to traditions, understanding tradition and valuing that. And it's also an older culture tradition. But I think America, we're okay with, okay, I don't really care how it's done. Let's wipe the slate clean, tear it down, build it back up new, innovate, always going forward. And this has a lot of benefits as far as making a society prosperous financially. But I think it also holds us back because it creates a poor culture in the sense that we don't really we're a different society that is a society originally of immigrants of different cultures, but it doesn't allow it. We're definitely a less cultured society. We value less other languages, and we're a bit more closed-minded because of our geographical landscape.
Yeah, I think that I know that because I have American students that learn Italian with me, and they always think about themselves. Like when I ask them any questions, they are like, "I don't care about other countries. All I care is about the U.S." Like, yeah, they say that. I'm like, "Do you know that we have a here in Europe?" They say, "Yeah, but it's not my business." That's what they say,
For sure.
and I think it's kind of rude. I mean, I'm not saying that they have to do something about it, but you need to care about other humans, because if something like that would happen to you as an Italian, I would care about you. I would say, oh my God, what is happening to the US? I'm so sorry. Like, what can I do? Or can I
For
send
sure.
some help? Can I share this information to make the situation better? No, but many of them say, I don't care. I don't care. All I care is making money, having my sausages in the morning, and that's it.
I think, yeah, it depends. I mean, that's definitely not probably the best mindset or attitude, but I think definitely, yeah, I think that because geographically, historically, we have two oceans on each side. We're very protected from that aspect. We definitely, over the history of our time, have valued a lot of our own things. And yeah, we're probably a bit of an egotistical country because the last, since after World War II, especially the dominant world power, now we have a lot more competition. But in the sense that we I think there is that pride. I think it's regionally, and I think America is very polarized, where I think it's one extreme to the other. You have one extreme where people aren't very appreciative of the opportunities that, like the United States renders. That they're not. They're almost like anti-America and anti the whole establishment, all that stuff. And they are all about, okay, let's almost help. And I understand from also these other people's perspective in the sense that there needs to be a better way, like more of a moderate way to go about it, because you want to be able to help other countries and intervene because of our power. But at the same time, there's issues internally within the United States, impoverished societies within our own country, infrastructural issues, geopolitical issues. There's issues going on in our country that need to be taken care of before we start just aiding other governments to be more politically correct. But I think at the same time, we need to have an open heart to be able to understand what's going on in other countries. And yeah, I think now it is tough to say too, would I help another, not would I help, but other countries. I think it's not so simple, like to be there and helping on the ground is a different experience than supporting them from afar. But I definitely think, yeah, us as Americans are a bit more closed-minded because we focus a lot more on American history. We don't study languages really till high school. At least I didn't exposure to other languages till high school. It's just English. And so that's, I think, that's a societal issue and a structural issue in the school system where we need to start getting kids to learn even Spanish, maybe now, but from elementary school, because there'll be more Spanish speakers by 2050 in the United States than English speakers. So I think there's a lot of reasons for it. I think it's just, I think on the coast, maybe we're a bit more open-minded. And I think in the center of the United States, there's more of a closed mindset because just literally from a geographical standpoint, they're more closed in.
Yeah, there are some people that, for example, were born in a state and never visited the second one in the US, So the question is, how can they think about foreign countries, even if they don't even know that they can visit other states in their country?
Exactly. It's just the exposure. I think in Europe, you guys are so exposed. And I think this is a privilege. I mean, I think as us native English speakers, it's a privilege to be able to travel around the world, speak English natively. We have more opportunities for work. We don't have to go through that struggle. But at the same time, I think as a European, one privilege is you guys can become immersed in cultures. You can take a train and be in 4 or 5 different countries, not even a plane, or take a plane that's 30 euros, 40 euros for a quick flight to a different country with different culture, different traditions, different language, different people, different perspectives, that I think gives you a different outlook on life and makes you a more well-rounded person. So yeah, I think for better or for worse, we're just different, but yeah.
Yeah. So Italians think that Americans are fat.
I think that, again, this is another thing that depends on the geography of where you are. If you're in the Southeast or the Midwest, people definitely are probably a bit more, there's probably a bigger obesity issue. I think in America, again, like everything, we're very polarized. I think there's definitely, in Italy, it's becoming bigger in other European countries, but there's definitely more of a gym culture. So there's definitely more people obsessed with lifting, bodybuilding type culture. There's more fitness type people that are very it's hardcore into like tracking their macro and micronutrients, wanting to, have their workout plans, they're tracking their progress, doing just ways to manipulate their training to be able to gain as much muscle as possible. But then you'll have the people that are also don't care about what they eat. They don't value about what they put in their body and their mouth. And they're the other end of the extreme, which is people that are, relying on fast food. That can also be a socioeconomic issue, but in general, Europeans are much more balanced in their approach to food, diet, exercise, valuing walking.
Maybe also thanks to the place we live, the Mediterranean food, and also the habits that we get. Maybe in the US, a lot of people are used to get to eat processed food and doing it without thinking, am I doing the right thing? Or maybe I should change something. There are like overweight people that make processed and fried food for their children, and they're making their children become like them.
Exactly. I think it's definitely a familial thing. You monkey see, monkey do. You see and do. The influences from your parents is very, and I think that I think there's a couple things. I think one is that, let me think. One is definitely like in Europe, like you said, like the values or also like habits. There's cities in Europe were originally made for walking, for horse and buggy, not literally before horse and buggy, just literally for walking. There weren't made for cars. So you have this piazza culture, let's say in Italy, where there's a meeting point. The cities are much more walkable. So this idea of taking a passeggiata, this whole idea of just walking to walk, okay? Not saying that people do that every single day or it's like a realistic thing to fare una passeggiata, like this magical road I'm going to take and enjoy my life with spritz, blah, blah, blah. But I think in general, that you guys value moving your body just to enjoy moving your body and enjoying that life. I think that's a big thing. I forgot the other thing, but I think that one thing too helps.
Yeah, and then we think that the US, people from the US are not family oriented, but they are business oriented. But it's weird for us that American people have a lot of children, like they are business oriented, but they have a lot of children, like 4 or 5, and then they pay a nanny to take care of them. And that doesn't make sense for us because we are very family oriented, but we have less kids because we know that kids are expensive and because maybe we can't give enough love to everybody if we have 6 kids. And that's crazy for us.
Yeah, I think definitely kids are something that is a big difference as far as, I mean, there's obviously, I don't want to get into politics or issues or other things and go down a different rabbit hole, but I think that, there is an issue in like Southern Europe and in like even East Asia right now with like the birth rate. That's a whole different topic for a different day. But yeah, definitely Americans have more kids. I think that's almost a legacy aspect too. I think Americans are much more concerned about like, especially like, let's say guys, maybe a bit more because it's more oriented towards trying to make have a lot of financial success. And I think that goes along how you can pass that down. And I think that idea of like having kids, I think it goes into, even though Italy historically is more religious or more of a Catholic country, I think maybe at this point in the world, Italy is a very, let's say, a Catholic country, but then at the same time, a country that I would say maybe practices there's not like, there's a lot less regulation around. I don't want to say more. There's a lot more non-denominational Christianity, and I think people are more, maybe in this sense, maybe more traditional in certain aspects and areas of the United States versus in Italy. But I think it depends on the geography. If you're in the far south of Italy, it's more traditional. People are more not having more kids, but the way they approach family life and follow the rules of whatever religious affiliation they have is more traditional. And I think in America, there's that. And I think also too, people, when they naturally have more work opportunities at a younger age, they make a little more money, even though we do have our own debt crisis with young people, and we have our own, with people trying to afford a house. I think there's maybe a more, I don't know if it's like a Protestant Christianity type thing. There's more of a push to have kids in general. I think it also depends. I think because our country is more diverse, we have more expats from other countries, whether it be engineers from India working in the tech sector. Those cultures have more kids. And so I think, let's say our culture was as homogenous as Italy or Europe. I mean, you guys aren't completely homogenous, but have a lot less diversity than we do. I think there'd be less people, we'd have more of a birth rate issue, because I don't think the typical, let's say, white American family or Black American family or whatever is having as many kids as like the typical American Indian family or American Mexican family that have more traditional values. I think because of our diversity, it makes us, we don't have as much of that issue. We're just becoming more diverse.
Okay. And related to what to this family topic, we think that the US is the country of golden retriever because every family takes a picture at the end of the year with a golden retriever.
I mean, it depends. I think Italians love dogs too. I see many little dogs. My family has barboncini, the little poodles. I love
beagle. I have a beagle.
You have a beagle? Oh, I think I saw. He's cute. What's his name?
Chloe.
Chloe?
Chloe.
So Chloe in American English.
Yeah.
Chloe. Okay.
Yeah.
Cute. Do you want the next topic in Italian?